It really was an exhausting adventure. It wasn't difficult by any means, but it was long and quite boring. Kane had come up with something he called a multi-track adventure in the void. And he had forced everyone into this train that he had created. Every character got their own card. There was a buffet wagon and other distractions to go around. But what was mostly entertaining here in the void train were the strange creatures that were randomly generated by Kane as its journey continued. But there was more to see and more to experience, such as the occasional halts to refill on coal. There were multiple, though sadly often repeated, designs for refueling stations where you and the other characters could take a short break and walk around a little. No one knew why Kane was suddenly so obsessed with trains, and truthfully no one really cared. It was a change of pace, despite it slowly but steadily becoming the new normal, and very stale. And normal in the Digital Circus meant mind-numbing sensory overload without anything to do or experience. You awoke out of dreamless slumber, staring blankly at the ceiling of your cart. The lights moving past the window, they were mostly red today. This was really the only way to tell the time here. The change in colors of the outside. Yesterday it had been green, and the day before that a blue fog that managed to seep into the wagons. That also was your adventure for the day. It was a nightmare, really. Kinga thought he was abstracting because of his, quote, funky vision, and Jax had spent the entire day jumping out at gaggle from the fog. But you managed. Not like you left your bed often. Luckily, though, you didn't need to leave it. In the digital void, which included, well, the void, and of course the train, no one felt hunger. Eating was just something done to feel the sensation of it, and the comfort of feeling full. Sleep was not required either, it was just something done to skip the time. Not that dreams were a thing here anyways. But most importantly, you could see outside a window here. That was a big change for you. And you could experience the one thing that was truly magical about the digital world. The kaleidoscope that was the void. A surprisingly pleasant change for you. Though sadly you weren't allowed outside into the void, as your new body was quite attracted to light, and you'd definitely get lost if you allowed yourself to be taken over by your body's carnal instincts. So you just lied back down, staring at the ceiling, waiting. Kane probably would have another adventure planned. And a few times you got to skip it by sleeping. So maybe if you concentrated really, really hard on just lying here with closed eyes, you would be forgotten again. It was a good thing your card was at the other end of the train as well, lowering the chances even more. But all your hopes and dreams were crushed when the door to your sleeping quarter was kicked open. Hey Tiptop, we need your assistance. You blushed as you immediately jumped out of bed. Tiptop was your name in the digital world. And you had the body of an anthropomorphic moth. Your shoulders, chest, and most of your back were covered in light pink, puffy fur. White chitin with orange glowing highlights covered the rest of your body. It was surprisingly soft and sleek, more like a springy silicone rather than a hard shell. 2 antennas came out of her head. They were super sensitive to vibrations, making you feel every sound around you. Honestly, with them you could be stuck in the dark, and by feeling how the sound vibrated, you could imagine the rough layout of a room. It was pretty useful. Your face, luckily, was quite humanoid. Yeah, sure, you had a big bulbous clown nose and your eyes are completely jet black, but human enough. White like the rest of your body. Around your eyes were playing card symbols that too glowed in the dark. Your hair was short and the same soft pink color as your fur. Clothes weren't really needed for you, but since a special encounter with another character, Jax. You wore thigh-high socks with some padding in them. Your toes were quite sharp, so were your hands, but you had more control over them. You blushed from ear to ear as you looked at the bunnyman. "Oh, what do you need from me?" you asked. "You're the only one who can get under the train and check out what's causing an issue." Disappointed, you let your shoulders hang. Oh. Jax was special to you. Not because of his borderline disgusting attitude or his unique personality. No. You had slept with him in the last part, a few days ago. He never brought it up again, and you quite frankly were completely and utterly embarrassed to even look at him. "What do you need me for, then?" Jax shrugged. "You know, cane stuff." Jax made finger guns, which means adventure stuff, and we need your unique set of skills. Reluctantly, you got out of bed, draping your wings around your body like a rope before following Jax outside. The train had an empty, unroofed cart in between each functioning wagon to allow for more visibility if something interesting happened outside. In front of your cart were the other characters. All were looking quite annoyed. "Notice something?" barked Zubul, as if this entire situation was your fault. What's going on?" you said, rubbing your eyes. It was quite bright outside. "The train isn't moving." You bit your lower lip. You really didn't see why that was your fault. Kinger then shoved his hand on Zubul's face. Allow me to elaborate." Zubul groaned, annoyed. "Kane has noticed a certain, lack in participation on your end, so he added a new creature into the void." He pointed into the vast ocean of clashing colors. "He calls them goooo blues. They're these insects that attach to the train wheels and stop them entirely." You blinked, still not really sure what you were supposed to do about it. Kinger made a wing motion with his detached hands. "So he wants you to swoop around the train and pull them off." You took a frightened step back. "But my wings don't work," you deflected. "My body is too heavy." Not to mention, you still had a human brain inside your head. You quite literally were incapable of moving your wings, as your brain wasn't made to do so. It took you an incredible amount of effort and focus to even fold these wings to a rope or stretch them out. You had only tried flapping them once, and the strain on your brain was so great, you started glitching out a little. "The void has no gravity. You can flap them and move. No one else really can." You crossed your arms reluctantly. I don't... If you don't, we're stuck. And if we abstract in the train, that leads to disaster. Please, I don't want to abstract. You really had to, huh? You kinda had to agree. Stepping to the edge of the train cart, you look down into the endless abyss. Just barely you could make out a wiggling neon red tail, probably one of the... what were they called? Goooo blues? You turned around only to see Jax with his foot raised, ready to kick you into the void. Ugh, seriously, Jax? You deadpanned. He chuckled. Well, might as well give you a little assistance, you know. I'd like a rope so I don't drift off too far. I mean, if I get a few wheels unstuck, it surely will go forward again. Even if it's slowly at first. That's... why didn't we think of that first? Shouted Kinger, excited. Out of her cart, Ragatha now brought a rope, which she gingerly secured around your hip after you spread out your wings. And then you slowly and carefully allowed yourself to step out of the gravitation bubble of the train. God, she's so hot. What's her problem, anyways? Muttered Zubul quietly towards Gaggle, once you were out of view. I wish I had wings. Jax in the meantime insisted he'd hold the rope, which worried everyone, including you. You managed to painfully flap your wings to reach the underside of the train. Every time you moved your wings, your vision blurred a little, and the only good thing about this was that there was nothing. No resistance from the air, as the void was quite literally the absence of it. Thank God in the digital world you didn't need to breathe. Slowly, carefully, you maneuvered under the train, and finally you saw one of the goooo blues. The creatures looked like long, thick red leeches made out of shiny rubber. While outwardly cute with their big googly eyes, as you pulled them off the train, you saw into their gross mouths. They were covered in hundreds of layers of teeth to quite literally bite into the train's metal. Your right eye twitched in disgust as you looked at the thing wiggling in your claws. Unsure if you should just squish and kill it, or just let it go. Oh God, you hoped Kane didn't make you kill them. As gross as they were, you couldn't do it. But after you let go of the thing, it immediately shot away into the void, making you sigh in relief. Even if you didn't have to kill them, the entire process was still slow, but luckily, it was steady. The leech-like goooo blues were difficult to pull off, but once off, they were essentially gone. The problem were the bigger ones. They required you to grab the tail with both hands and pull with your feet against the train's bottom. Once they popped off, you always shot downwards, and you could always hear Jax complain every time you did it. After pulling out a quite thick leech, the train slowly began to roar, and it moved again. Now everything became more difficult, as you had to climb using all the nooks and crannies of the train's underside. It took you the entire day with a rapidly speeding up train above you to remove the goooo blues. Though lucky, by the end of it, it seemed as if the momentum you had built up together with the machine was roughly the same. So while you could see that you were moving, it didn't feel like you were. That was good. Carefully, you now climbed to the top of the train. Seeing the long rope reaching over the train's roof. Carefully walked on top of it until jumping down to the others. "Great job!" shouted Kinger. But as everyone seemed to want to pat your back, minus Jax, you felt embarrassed. This was something you had to do, wasn't it? With your new body, you just hated it when people looked at you. You hated your appearance. It was so inhuman and you found it gross. It made you hate being praised. Though just as you opened your mouth to protest, Kane popped into view above you and the others. "Good job, Tiptop!" he shouted excitedly. "You managed to get the train unstuck!" He pointed his cane at you. "So you get to choose your reward. It can be anything. You can be as creative as you want. Just know it is always up to my interpretation." You blinked. The selfish side of you wanted to ask to leave, but you knew that would only lead to Kane making a door that led to the exit maze. "Well, I'm hungry. Ask for a good meal," Jack said with a shrug. "I'd like to see an insect collection." "Ugh, everyone shut up," shouted Ragatha as she gently pat you on the back. "Go with whatever you think is right. Be creative. Doesn't always happen that Kane lets you choose." You had made up your mind and asked for a key. The key to the lunch cart. The wagon in question was in the middle of the train and was only open from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Impressed, Jack clapped his hands. Now with the key in hand, a 24/7 all-you-can-eat buffet was ready to be devoured at any time. That was the best choice for a reward you could possibly have made. Eating now was on the time killer list again for everyone. You sighed, sitting down on your bed. You were breathing slowly. Your heart was still going so fast. It had been too much excitement for one day. Having everyone around you for so long was unneeded eyes on you. And all that flapping had made your wings go stiff. You couldn't even wrap them around you anymore. Sniffing, you lie down in bed. Though, just as you closed your eyes, you heard the noise of keys turning at your room's door. Gulping, you sat up. "Hey there, Tiptop. It's me again." It was Jax. Your heart jumped. Slamming the door behind himself, he approached you. "Just, wanted to thank you for the key." "To my room? I don't remember." He blinked. "Oh, no, I took that one myself. I'm talking about the food cart. That was awesome of you." He stopped in the middle of your room with his hands in his pockets. Yep, pretty awesome." It seemed like he was waiting for something. Expectantly, you tilted your head. "Man, yeah, I thought you'd immediately tear the clothes off my body as soon as we were private." You blushed. Oh, you shuddered. "I didn't realize that's why you were here." "What? Did you really think I'll leave it as a one-time thing?" He shrugged smugly. What? What's this there? Gaggle? He burst out into laughter as he imagined it. After all, she was the only one insecure enough to not say no if he asked. Plus, he already knew your body, in and out, literally and figuratively, and he was quite attracted to that. It maybe helped you in accepting your mirror image as well in the long run. So it was a win-win regardless. He blinked. Huh. He didn't realize there was a single carrying bone in his body. Maybe this was a mistake. But before he could reconsider, you had already sat up, even putting down your blanket. Damn, Zobel was right. Maybe it was the digital world screwing with what he was attracted to, but you were in fact pretty hot. Even with that clown nose of yours. I mean, if you want to, I won't stop you. You chuckled, smiling slightly at him. Nice, he thought. With one hand, he unhooked one of his overalls binders as he came closer. With it just barely hanging from his shoulder, he stopped right in front of you. Jax gently took hold of your face, making you look up at him. He smiled as your eyes met, while you just barely managed to contain your excitement. But as you enjoyed the moment, you realized he was pulling your leg right now. As it dawned on you, you noticed his grin slowly widening. You narrowed your eyes. Are you screwing with me? He didn't answer, but you deadpanned regardless. You knew exactly what he wanted to say. You knew exactly what he was thinking, and... don't... You sighed. I haven't even done anything yet. You narrowed your eyes. And you now stood up. He was still a little taller than you, so it wasn't as threatening as you wanted it to be. Still, you were now very close to his face. Well, aren't you going to kiss me? He chuckled. Maybe. Or maybe I just longingly look into your eyes a little more. You're not going to kiss me first, are you? You want me to do it? He exhaled. No, I don't think so. Haven't I done enough yet? He shrugged. I was holding the rope. You deadpan. Sighing, you place your hands on the shoulders. You're hopeless. His hands wrapped around your hips, gently rubbing circles into you, making you gasp. Aren't we all? He purred. Come on. Put that honey tube of yours in my mouth. I know you want to. You may have a human face, but in place of a tongue, you had a tube-like appendage. It still allowed you to taste, like a regular tongue, of course, but it also allowed you to drink things, like through a straw. And it always secreted a spittle that smelled and tasted like honey. And since last time, Jax had developed a taste for it. And so, he obliged. It was you who closed the distance to the rabbit's lips, gently kissing him, making the neurons in your brain fire in delight. Gently he pushed forward until you lost your balance, landing on your bed with a quiet pomp. You exhaled through your nose with a quiet hum, feeling his familiar weight on you. After such a long time, it was breathtakingly wonderful. It was then you allowed your tongue to push past his lips and teeth. Jax's ears perked up excitedly as the sweet nectar ran down his throat. His hands slowly went up the sides of your body, and you didn't mind it. Bending your knees, you locked him in place with your thighs. You wanted to say something, but that would mean you'd have to separate. And I was out of the question. You were enjoying it too much. His tongue was sliding up and down yours. Jack sucked and slurped. It felt so good. Your eyes rolled back. Though then he suddenly pulled away. Jack snickered, swiping away some of the golden liquid from his lips. Wait, is what I'm doing gay? He was joking. And offended, you puffed up your cheeks. Angrily, you grabbed his wrist, placing it right on your fluffy chest. He blushed as he groped at what he was feeling. Does this feel gay? Nope, that feels very feminine, and I can feel my brain cells going bye-bye every second I'm not inside you. Finally, you gasped as you undid the last button on his overall. You really are such a freak. I like that.
Thank you to the people who are supporting me on Ko-fi. You guys are keeping me alive.